Testing. This is all a test. All look cute though. We're rolling. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first installment of Let's Talk About It, a segment of We Say with Abe. This is new. This is new for me. This very first episode, we're actually going to be talking about my relationship with money and how it has been cultivated since I was actually pretty young. I really wanted to start this segment just from reflecting on last year, just realizing that I've always been a pretty money mindful person and wanting to do a little bit more digging on my relationships with other people and money and things that I think about, questions that I have regarding the finance world, what's going on with my own finances, possibly the relationships that I have with people because of money. Like, I did a lot of reflecting on that this past year, so I thought it would be kind of interesting to make it into a bit of a personal vlog. And the overall objective of this segment was really just for me to be open and vulnerable with you all. The concept of money is very taboo and people are a little skittish when we talk about it. And I just kind of want to open the doors by putting myself out there, feeling a little uncomfortable sometimes, just talking about why I am the way I am and how this relationship that I have with money now has been cultivated over the 24 years that I've been living. So I look forward to it. Stay tuned and let's get it cracking. As y'all can see, the theme is cozy. I've got my tea. I'm all cozy in my Flight of the Honeybee merch. Shout out Asar. I'm actually going to put the link to his merch in my description underneath this video. Also, if you haven't seen my full interview with Asar, he is an awesome dope rapper. He's one of my very good friends, and he just put out an awesome line to go along with his most recent project. So check it out. All right, I'm going to put this down, because I've actually prepared some some questions. So ultimately, I came up with some questions about the topic to ask myself, giving you all the illusion that someone sent in these questions for me to answer. No, I came up with all of these questions, but in the future, I would really love for you all to comment under this video. Let me know what questions you have, because I would love to incorporate them into the show. Of course, it's like I have an idea of the things that I want to talk about, but if you all have specific questions that are personal to me or personal to you that you want my opinion on or any type of advice, I truly don't know where I'm going with this. But please comment, let me know, because I'm looking for that content as well, even though I already have some stuff prepared. All right, so let's get started. So, Abe, what is your earliest memory with money? That's a wonderful question. So to get started, I'll tell you all a little bit about some of the ridiculous stories that my family have told me. So I think my earliest memory with money was when I was either 2 or 3 years old. My mom said she can't remember, but apparently there was a quarter and it was on the counter, I think in the kitchen area. I don't remember, I was 3. But there was a quarter sitting up there and I couldn't reach it. So naturally I started screaming because I wanted the quarter, but I didn't know how to ask for it. So my parents were like, what is going on? What do you want? What do you need? And I was like, Koala! Koala! And they are like, girl, what are you talking about? And I kept pointing and pointing and pointing, and eventually they realized that I was referring to the quarter, because obviously I've been greedy and money hungry my entire life, and that is no fault of my parents. But I thought that was really funny, and I guess from jump I always knew that money had some sort of value, and I wanted to figure out what it was. So that's that. All right, next question. Where does your money mindfulness come from? And I think I touched on this a little bit at the very, very beginning of my show, but I would definitely attribute that to my parents, but specifically my mom. I actually have some vivid memories just of my mom at her little secretary desk, balancing the checkbook, paying all the bills, making sure everything was done, organized, planned into a T. I didn't necessarily want to do it myself, but I saw it as being a very important thing that needed to be done on a regular basis. I don't think I realized that she did it every few weeks or few months or however often she did it, but I definitely knew that it was important to get done just so that she could, keep all her receipts in order, know where her money was going, and if anything was unaccounted for, it was all in her check registry. And so I think that was one of the earliest memories that I have of my mom, and realizing that, like, okay, this is something that I need to learn. I probably should ask a few questions and just kind of figure out what this is going to be for me. I think that she was the first person who ever talked about credit. And I didn't know what credit meant. I just knew about like extra credit when I was a kid. I'm just like, I don't really know what credit usage and having credit cards means. I just know that you swipe it and then you buy stuff and that's it. But I very, very much remember her talking about not having too many credit cards and always paying them on time, always paying off the entire balance every single month, and never putting more money on your credit card than you can really afford. Because at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, you have a limit, but that doesn't mean you just spend it willy-nilly. You have to pay it back at some point, and usually with a lot of interest. I didn't know what any of that meant at the beginning. I just knew from jump. My mom was like, you do not need more than one credit card, especially when you're starting out. Do not use the entire limit. Budget it and determine how you're going to pay it off throughout the month, because that's how you're going to build good credit. You don't know why you need it now, but that's super important. So I remember going into college, remembering that, and then still, just seeing my peers, some of my classmates who were applying for credit cards super early because they were getting all this really cool stuff and all these gift cards. And I was just like, okay, these people were really preying on these college students, like just so that they could, make their quotas. Some of these college students messed up their credit when they weren't more than 18 or 19 years old. And for me, I had my little $1,000 limit from U of I credit union, shout out U of I. And I only really used it for gas. And however much my gas was for my car every single month, I put that on my credit card, paid it off, that was it. And that's how I started building credit while I was in college. So those are the things that kind of lingered that I remember from my mom specifically. She also took me to open my first bank account on my 15th birthday. And I don't know why that's such a fond memory that I have. I feel like it made me feel older. Like it just like, ooh, there's a rite of passage. I'm going to have a debit card. I can buy my own stuff. I'm going to have a car next year so I can go and do whatever I need to do. And I can pay for it with my bank account. So it was definitely, it made me feel fake grown when I was in high school, and it was a really great birthday. I also got a waffle maker and some Beats headphones when they first came out that birthday, so it was just a ballin' birthday. Okay. Next question. Allowance. What are your thoughts? So I know that this one is a pretty mixed bag when I ask a lot of people my age. So I got an allowance when I was a kid. Okay, so I think I started getting an allowance when I was either 9 or 10 years old, really around this time where I had to start doing chores other than just like ironing my clothes and doing my laundry, because those, they're essential. So I started doing those around like 9 or 10 as well. But then, my mom started, adding in a few more chores like vacuuming, mopping the floor, cleaning the bathrooms, and I started getting an allowance. It was like $5, I want to say, like every week or every 2 weeks. I can't remember, but it was very, very reasonable, and I was very grateful to have that. I feel like having an allowance for me was beneficial because it started to teach me how to actually work for and earn my own money at a young age. 10 years old, I was still pretty young. So that was definitely a plus. I think it also encouraged me to start saving for the things that I really wanted. Because one thing my parents did, my parents did a lot of things great, obviously. But one thing that I think that my parents did that was super duper helpful was teach me the differences between necessary and unnecessary things, the things that I absolutely need and the things that I want. My parents were never, my parents always made sure that we had everything that we needed. always, no matter what. Now, when it came to the things that we wanted, birthday and Christmas, go crazy. But other than that, throughout the year, they were just like, you get an allowance, girl. Like, you can afford these $40 shoes that you want. They were Chuck Taylors. They had chalk drawings on them. They were so dope, and I had to have them. And I remember going to Kohl's with my mom and asking her to buy them for me, and her saying, well, you get an allowance. You need to save up for it if that's what you want. This is not new school shoe time. This is not your birthday. It's not Christmas. So do with that what you will. So it showed me that it was important for me to save for the things that I really wanted, and that started a really cool and healthy relationship that I have now with saving. Hence, we save with Abe. You feel me? Now, I will say, caveat, I realized this past year that my money mindfulness has been something that's been a part of me and a part of my life and my personality for a really long time. But I think that learning to, work for the things that I got was super important. But when it came to just having money, I liked having money. I still like having money. And so with that, I think that it taught me in a way to value having money and keeping it and making sure I always have it, as opposed to developing like more so in terms of like relationships with other people and spending money on experiences, if that makes sense. I think that when it came to like boyfriends I had or friends that I had, I would be kind of a little standoffish and a little stingy about my money or about the gifts that I would buy. In terms of lived experiences, I feel like a lot of the times I'd be like, I don't want to do that. That's too expensive, or I don't want to spend all my money on that. And then I see my friends enjoying themselves because maybe they threw all their money into this trip or going to this festival or, engaging in whatever opportunity that they had. And even though I had the money to do it, I knew that once I spent my money on it, I would be broke for a while. And for them, they were like, man, it was worth it. And for me, I'm like, I don't know if it'll ever be worth it. Now looking back on it, I feel like that was a kind of a barrier that I put on myself. And now I'm happy that I realized it when I was 24 as opposed to when I'm 34 or 44. And now I'm really trying to focus more on going to places I want to go, spending money on the things that I really like and care about or want to learn more about. Like even just like investing in my show. Like this is something that's becoming really fun and super important to me. So why wouldn't I invest in it to make it a little bit better? So I feel like it's definitely a blessing and a curse that I started my relationship with money very early. We have made it to our last and final question for this first installment of Let's Talk About It. And that question is, when did you start working? And the answer is, trick question. I really don't know. I started babysitting maybe when I was 14 or 15. I feel like when I started high school, and that was definitely where I started making the bag. But my first formal job was when I was 16 years old at Savoy 16 movie theater. Yikes, that's all I can say. When I tell you I smelled like synthetic popcorn butter 24/7, baby, it was disgusting. Like it was just, I started off as an usher, just sweeping the movie theater, and that was not fun, especially during kids movies during the summer. But then I started working concessions, and I didn't realize that would be worse. It was disgusting. I felt like everywhere I walked was sticky from the soda that was everywhere. If you burned the popcorn, it was just over for the rest of your shift because you are going to be smelling burnt popcorn. Like, think about how nasty that is. And this is what I did the summer after I turned 16, and I was elated when I got that job. Because in reality, I was so obsessed with having a job that when I was 15, I grew up in Champaign. When I was 15, I got a worker's permit from my school so that I could start working early, but I couldn't find anywhere that was willing to hire you unless you were 16. I actually got an interview with Savoy 16 when I was 15, and they were like, you would be great, but we can't hire you till you're 16. So I just had to wait it out and start making a paycheck when I was 16, just like everybody else. But I was super duper thirsty. I think though, one of the reasons why I was so thirsty to get a job was because I felt like I was beyond the point of wanting to ask for my allowance all the time, or I would blow my allowance on stupid stuff, and then when I would need more money, I'd have to ask my dad. And so if anybody knows my dad, he's hilarious. But he can get serious. And so when it comes to me kind of like, I would like want to go like to a basketball game. It would probably be like $2-3 to get in, but I need snacks, right? Unnecessary. So to avoid the questioning and slight lecture that my dad would give me about why I'm asking for more money, and then him bothering me talking about bringing back my change. I love my dad, y'all. I was just like, you know what? I would really rather just have my own cash. So please, somebody give me a job. I didn't know what I was getting myself into because Voice 16 was terrible. But at the end of the day, it just, I think that was the reason why I was so ready to just jump into it, not realizing that I was going to be working for most of the rest of my life. And like, this is so ghetto. Like, honestly, I just, work is like, I love my job now, but at the end of the day, it's just like, man, like, I think back to when I was young, when I didn't have to do anything other than chores at my parents' house. And now it's like, I have to work 40 hours a week and clean my own house for free. And it's just like, it's not the same. So I think that is why I started working as soon as I turned 16. I also had to pay for gas for my car, and I had a nice car. So premium gas was not cheap. We'll talk about that on a later segment, but that's that. All right, y'all. So before I sign off, the last thing I want to do is just give my parents a quick shout out. They're two of the best humans that I've ever met. And just realizing like how much I've developed just as a person because of them is pretty daunting, because they've always been extremely supportive of everything that I do, not just financially, but literally in every way possible. So shout out to them. But other than that, thank you all so much for tuning in. Please tune back in on January 15th. I will be talking about thrift shopping and sustainability. I'm really excited about it. It's a new topic that I've never really delved deep into before, but I did a little bit of research and I'm excited to share it with you all. But if you do like this episode, please subscribe, comment, and let me know what you like, what you don't like. Give me your feedback. Let me know if you never want to tune into this ever again. Like I said before, I'm not going to stop. It's just always nice to know. But other than that, thank you so much. You all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on January 15th.